and CEO of the Thought Leadership Brand Club, which is a membership community designed to help you build your brand, your business to that next level by leveraging the mastermind of diverse community leaders in the group. And we have weekly trainings, weekly calls, coaching, everything we do to actually make you accountable and take you to that next level. So today we have a really amazing event, and I'm so excited. Every month we do a live stream, and we have two amazing expert guest speakers. And I have to say they're also longtime friends of mine. I've known them for years. And as a personal branding guy myself, these are also personal branding people that I love and admire and adore. So I'm going to bring in Cher Jones. She's the first one. Hey, Cher. How are you?
Hey, Bobby. So excited to be here. Oh my gosh,
I
you're
know.
so wonderful.
There's a lot of Canadian energy on the stage right now.
There
so
is.
We need some Aussie energy. So maybe String will show up. She's a little bit delayed, guys, but she'll be there shortly. But I want to get right into this. I mean, I haven't talked to you in a while, so I'd love for you to tell people who you are, and then just tell me and the audience can listen in on how you're doing.
Okay, well, I am Cher Jones, and I am the founder of Socially Active Training. Excuse me.
Sorry.
It is a corporate training company that specializes in the personal brand at work. So that's what we do. We help people build their brand so it helps them in their career, it helps them in their job, but that also enhances the company brand. So I'm all focused on primarily corporate training. And that's what I do. I mean, I when I get the chance, I'm on LinkedIn Live, and I love being on other people's shows. So excited to be there. Hey, Canadians. And that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, we got a lot of people joining in today because I think that it's funny. Like one of the things I try to do is leverage my network on LinkedIn, and we have some really amazing people. So I was like, oh, we're going to talk about personal branding. Who should I get? And I was like, boom, Cher Jones, String Nguyen. Let's do this. So it's really good. I see lots of people are commenting, which is great, guys. Continue to comment. Let us know where you're calling in from, where you're listening in from, and of course, you have questions. You totally can ask questions because personal branding is something that has been going on for a long time. And let's talk about that because I want to talk about our history. Cher,
Yes.
I'm going to acknowledge from a personal brand perspective, I don't remember exactly where we met. Do you remember? Because I remember the panel. Do you remember anything before that?
I actually do.
Okay.
You were primarily working on, as far as where your brand was positioned at the time, it was on networking. You were at, it was not a city of Toronto, but it was like the Economic Development City of Toronto event. You were speaking at a conference, and we were already like somewhat connected, but we actually met for the first time there at that conference. And then we just continued to kind of like be in the same spaces because I was also speaking at the same conference. You were on the main stage at that time, but yeah. And we met, we talked, we connected, and then we continued to connect. And then you started building, build your, was it?
DYPB, discover your personal brand.
Discover your personal brand. And I was like an OG at DYPB.
I know. So we had this first ever all-star panel of personal branding, and I invited you, and you were on the panel, and I was there too.
Yeah.
We had Ron Tite, and it was like an
amazing panel. Like
and what was crazy about that event was I remember this. We were like, because I was working with a couple of interns. We're like, let's run an event. I'm like, I hate doing events. They suck. You get 10 people or 6 people. And we had 120 people in a hot air conditioned room on a Monday night in August. And I couldn't believe how many people were there. I was like, this is great. We should do more of this. Personal branding is awesome. So I see the String is here. I'm going to bring her in now and find about her backstory.
And shout out to everybody who's saying hi on there. I see Steve. I see Sweeta. I see Christy. So welcome.
Yeah. Hey, String. How are you?
Hey, String.
How's everyone?
Good.
We are happy to have.
How's the future?
Yes, I'm excited. I woke up at 6 o'clock and then
we appreciate you.
Did you press the snooze button? Are you the type of person that presses the snooze button? I'm the type that presses the snooze button 3 times and I get up.
I do. Yeah, I'm a snoozer too. I can't help it. And you know what? But it's okay. I guess that's part of my brand, right? I'm a snoozer. But I got that late night energy, you know?
Oh yeah, you do. You pretty much do. Like,
so
please pass me your energy.
we're passing the energy we can, String. So just a little bit, your camera's a little bit shifted to one side. So just, yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
And also, and I was Cher and I were talking about when we first met. So I was trying to remember when you and I first connected. The first thing I remember was you were doing videos online. I forget whether it was Meerkat or something else, but that's where I started to follow you. But do you remember when we first connected?
Well, no.
No, it's okay. I didn't remember either. So
because like I do feel like you said it was Meerkat, but it's like, where did I feel like I met you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But you probably saw me beforehand.
Yeah, I followed you first on Meerkat, I think, or one of those videos you were doing.
Yes, but we became friends, I felt like, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and then we met in person. We ran and we did that whole event, and that was awesome. So I've known both Cher and String for over 10 years each, which has been amazing. So String, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our wonderful audience.
Hi, my name is String, and I'm from Australia. If you have to know anything about me, I like fried chicken. So every time you see KFC, think of me, please.
Yeah, the fried chicken has been a long. When did you come up with the fried chicken thing? Can you talk about that?
Oh, yes. And also, like, I'm a managing director for Chubbyverse, which is an NFT brand. And we also generated 3.8 billion views on Giphy. So I know a thing or two about marketing. And why the fried chicken? I think I had this like theory where that for you to be memorable, you have to go deep into people's psyche. Like you need to be more than the go-to person for that expertise. You need to be you need to be relatable. The person will choose you because it's like you could be the plant girl. If you always have plants around on your desk, you could be that plant girl. If you talk about cats, it's like, oh, you're that cat girl. How is your cat? You have to make it sticky for people to remember you by. And fried chicken, like people don't get it, but then when they realize that they walk past or eat fried chicken, they send me DMs about fried chicken. People rock when I like have meetings, they have fried chicken waiting for me on the table.
And that's it right there. That's like what I call personal branding Easter eggs. So they're little things about you, kind of like in the Marvel comic universe or the DCU. Like we find out little things about characters, and then all of a sudden it becomes part of who we remember. That like when we just randomly are walking around seeing some amazing chicken and waffles, fried chicken and waffles. I'm like, String. She likes fried chicken, right? And that's those inception moments where we get into people's heads. And I think you're right. You're bang on. It's so important that we think about those other sides of our personal brands so that we make the connection beyond our expertise.
And I think, and I love that you call it Easter eggs because like, you know that the person like you if they remember you for those moments. But I think also if you want them to dislike you, that also works as well.
And there's nothing wrong with, making or just having people know for sure that they don't like you. That's okay. It's okay. I'm not for everyone. You're not for everyone. Bobby's not.
Yeah, and I think a lot of good brands do use that look thing, that whether it's something they're wearing or color they have. And that's something I haven't actually done. I mean, I haven't really done that. But again, there's different things that we have as part of our brand. Now, this discussion is really important to personal branding, and of course, the obvious question are why is personal branding important? People ask us this for years, right? And I'm not sure if our answers have evolved over the years, but I think it'd be good to have a quick idea of what each of you think, and I'll share what I think, and then it'd be interesting to see if we have different answers. So I'll start with you, Cher. Like, why is personal branding so important?
Personal branding is so important because especially now in this, our digital side of our personal brand is as equal and as important as how we show up because we meet so many people like you guys. I could have met you online first. I know I met String online. I have never met her face to face, but yet I feel like I know enough about her to know her and to like her, right? And so, but when you think about your personal brand and why personal branding is so important, it informs the story people tell themselves about you and what they expect you to be like when they get to engage and interact with you, right? So that's something that is incredibly important. And then on top of that, it also gives people the language to refer you or to champion you. And those are very important, especially now. And then to have the evidence and the proof online, that's just more than what we need. You know what I mean? So we gotta do that. personal branding is important.
Okay. What do you think, Strain?
I think adding to her point about personal branding, I feel like if you want that job, you want to be the person that the higher ups pick you for, whether it be a consulting job or even a corporate job, right? You want to be that's like, oh, you are the person that I want you to get hired for, whether it be like a consulting or a career job, like you just want to be that person. So you have to compete with that person. And then if you have the same level of credibility, the next thing they go choose is like, oh, do they fit into this culture? Or do they fit, or do I like this person? So adding that element of personal branding will be a very much a competitive edge when it comes to your career, whether it be your own business or for your own career as a consultant or whatever company that you want to work for as well. So that edge is really important these days. And like Cher said, you make sure that you show those evidence, that proof inside your socials, because people are looking at your socials now.
Yeah, and I think for me, the personal branding piece, there's different aspects of it depending on who I'm talking to. But I think the general thing I say to a lot of people now is that a lot of people talk about personal branding as a means to stand out and be noticed and be memorable, which I get. But the thing I like to talk about is personal branding as a process is an amazing way to have more alignment and meaning, fulfillment in your life. And when you have that clarity, you have that purpose and that direction, everything is a lot better, a lot faster, a lot more focused, and a lot easier. And so for me, for your career, for your business, having a clear personal brand, I think is very empowering. That's kind of why I like to talk about that. And I want to share another story, which is, when I first started talking about personal branding, I remember the first time I brought it up, it was in 2008. I was on stage talking about networking and how important networking was. And I told people, like, if you have to be memorable, guys, you have to leave a really strong brand. Like, it's your personal brand. Like, personal brand, what's that? And I was like, well, it's like, it's the brand of you, the memorability of you, but it's you, the person. And it was hot. People loved it. It took off, which was great. But back in the day, I was spending more time teaching people what it was, because people were like, I'm not a bar of soap, like, they were like, I don't want to. But then I started teaching them, okay, why it's important. And now I spend most of my time teaching people how to do it. Yeah. So that's changed in terms of personal branding. I was curious about you two, since you've both been talking about personal branding for a long time. What has changed in your mind about personal branding? It's anybody, go ahead.
Oh, you mean like compared to like when I started on LinkedIn?
Yeah, like when you started talking about personal branding 10 years ago, I think it's changed how we talk about it. So I was curious what you guys thought about that.
Well, like 10 years ago, that's when social media started, I feel like. No one knew. No,
right.
Actually.
It was more new.
Yes. But also, like, people were hesitant to showing themselves online because they fear judgment. And Instagram doesn't help, right? Everyone looks so pretty there, or so like, it's like a glamorous lifestyle, which is very stylized, right? But that's what pretty much the narrative that you want to put out there. On LinkedIn, I think people are more open to emojis. Like, I remember using emojis and people were like, that's unprofessional. But, and also, feel like people are more open to vulnerability. I love it when people come back to me. It's like, that's a Facebook post. It's like, no, this is me sharing parts of my life.
Yes.
Right. And because I'm an entrepreneur, my life is more open, is a little bit more of an open book compared to others. But I feel like people are willing to share that book or more chapters of their life online now. But you have to still control it. You don't want to be the victim. But you don't want to like showcase the negative side to you, because like people also judge you for it. But people love those stories where you share lessons about life.
Right.
You don't want to leave them hanging down here, do you? You have to lift them up like a Disney story. So, and I think that's probably the difference now, is like people are more willing to be vulnerable online. And I think that's powerful now. because it was really boring on LinkedIn 5 years ago. And I feel like there's still an opportunity for you to stand out because people are learning how to be storytellers online now. So it's fun watching that.
Yeah, I think people are tired of the Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
and the pool side shots. So, Cher, what do you think? What's sorry? So go ahead, Cher.
I was thinking, it's like the first person that popped in my head is Tyler Lopez. You don't want to he's got a very distinct brand, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, Cher, what do you think? What's changed in personal brand?
I think it's gonna just kind of build off of what String was saying. We now have, like 10 years ago, we didn't have all these options. There's Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, right? And so what we have now is all these opportunities to show different sides of our personal brand, but it is about making sure it's cohesive. So like you don't have to show everything on LinkedIn, nor do you have to show everything on Facebook or Instagram. Whereas like I remember giving the advice 10, 12 years ago. It's like, be consistent with your brand at on every platform. It's got to be the same, and that's just not the case anymore with the tools and the ability for self-expression. That being said, personal branding is still strategic. So again, building on what String was saying, is like, you still have to be mindful what you put out there and be mindful of the messaging as well as your communications challenges to see how people will perceive that. And does that get in the way of your goals? So you have to be goal-centric around that personal brand. And then the other piece is just, again, building on what String was saying, is just like our ability to show proof of what we know, and our ability to create content, our ability to have conversations like this, because I know there's a question coming up around AI, and AI makes everybody seem like an expert if you're just going to put out written word, right? However, we'll be able to tell who's 2 prompts deep and who actually knows what they're talking about, with the ability to apply what they know. And this is where personal branding is going, is the proof of the application, the application of your knowledge, and the proof that you do what you say you do.
Yeah, I think that there's, and again, to your point, more authenticity, more willingness for vulnerability, more personalization of content, I think certainly is a big trend. The digital content piece itself is a big trend because we have lots of platforms, and I'm a big believer now in multi-platform content strategies. Like, I'm doing stuff Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I even joined TikTok finally to do stuff there. But it's funny, I'm using TikTok specifically just for fun. I'm not even doing my personal branding videos. I'm singing songs. I'm sharing stuff with my kids. I'm just having things.
And don't forget WhatsApp. You use WhatsApp.
Well, it's true. No, there's lots I use, but the point is, I think the digital presence piece has been, the pandemic certainly showcased the importance of digital presence. I think that's why we're doing that. And I think the authenticity piece is really interesting, which segues to a nice question, which someone actually shared, which is, with AI here to stay, how will it play a role in creating authenticity for your personal brand in the next 12 to 18 months? Cher, I'll start with you.
Okay, I think that AI is a really great tool to skip to the good part of the work, right? So you can have it and help you either ideate or edit or think of things that you never thought of before, which goes back to ideation. However, the role that I think it's going to play is our ability to get more connected on a real level with people, because it's going to come down to trust. There's going to be so many people that we don't trust if they just show up all of a sudden. It's like, we need to, again, going back to that whole application of knowledge, we're going to have to see that applied knowledge and also those personal connections, and not just insert name, in a DM. So it makes it more personalized and find their name somewhere. We're going to listen for more voice notes and real authentic relationships where we're getting together in private platforms, whether it's Zoom or something else, because it's going to be trust and relationship and the lack of trust, I think. And I think this is a beautiful time with AI, because there's certain things that I know myself as a creator, there's things that I just couldn't do with the support. You have all these ideas, and it can help you get to the good part faster, but you have to kind of battle or weigh between how much is AI and how much is your work, right? And know that it's your voice, your work, your thought leadership, and you're using it as an assist and not your producer.
What do you think, String?
I love how she used the word assist, because it could assist you to proofread. It could assist you to express yourself. It could assist you to even be creative and find inspiration. But I think the key, and I've been using it every day, so I'm a heavy ChatGPT user, and I have to say that writing has increased my writing 80% of the time.
Yep.
But you have to be careful, because I heard a lawyer used it, and in a proper court case, and ChatGPT was making things up.
Yes.
So
Right.
you have to, but as a creative expression, great. And I think the key to authenticity is your stories and your experience. And I think because I proofread a lot of people's work, and I realize that they lack realness, specific stories and experiences.
Yes.
And if I had to read anything, there are 2 homeworks I have to give you if you want to improve your storytelling. Read Amazon, because Amazon's business storytelling is great because it tells you the rules and framework, and Disney as well. You always have to have a beginning, middle, and end at least.
Yep.
And when you have that framework, you become a better storyteller, but also you have to add your specific stories. Like Cher and I have, and Bobby have, we have probably 101 examples that we can talk about with our stories and our anecdotes about certain things, whether it be how personal branding improved our lives, how LinkedIn improved our lives, and how we use LinkedIn. That's because we have a library of these stories, specific stories that we could pull in and relate to the audience. And that's what you need to do, because we have these, we're magicians when it comes to storytelling, don't you think, Cher? We just pull out stories and specific moments, and that's what you need to do to feel authentic. And I feel like videos and voices go be the next thing to build up the trust. Writing is a good way to push out ideas and see if it resonates with your audience.
And I think going back to, sorry, Bobby, just to quickly wrap up on that, I think going back to the fact of, okay, you put out that content, but where the real connection is going to be in the responses and how you respond and reply. And that's where I think people don't forget that part.
Yeah, I think that AI has the ability to allow more people to put content out there. So it allows them to generate some ideas and maybe organize their thoughts. So I think we have the data that says that 5.2% of people are active content creators on LinkedIn. That's pretty low, right? So the 95%, maybe this brings up to another 10%. That'd be great because they could put stuff out there. But the real benefit of a personal brand is the storytelling touch you add to these pieces, as well as the response to comments or starting DM conversations. To me, that goes a long way in terms of how you actually make that connection. Now we have a lot of people asking questions, which is great, and our producer Sebastian's hammering me, Bobby, put this thing up. So I'm going to start doing this. So let me just put this next question, which is right here. Okay, here we go. Experts, I'd love to hear your thoughts on using LinkedIn to build a personal brand for job hunting. Any tips on leveraging LinkedIn to stand out and attract job opportunities? Thanks. Oh, we got lots of answers to this one. So I'll start with String this time and then Cher.
So I had a client that was an Amazon HR and a coach. And what she did was that you had to clean up your resume. And a lot of times I notice in resumes is that they lack numbers and experiences. So make sure that you build up your credibility by saying, hey, within 3 months, we organically grew our socials to 200%. So having those numbers, I was I worked with we increased our productivity by X% within this month. Which is really smart because it shows and you have to weave those little stories into your interviews as well, because these are the numbers and stories and experiences they want to hear. And for you have to also have to think about LinkedIn is just a big career SEO. What do I mean by career SEO? It's just job titles. Remember, career's foundation is all about job titles. So having the right job title, if you're a coder, for example, make sure that you have the languages that you use, because these are the key words that recruiters think about. So 2 things: update your resume on LinkedIn to have show results, and make sure that you have the correct job titles on your bio, LinkedIn, and your experiences as well, because that will help you increase your searchability.
I love that. I mean, so for me, I don't, because it's actually bad for this is going to sound so crazy, but it's actually bad for my brand to talk about job hunting. So I don't talk about it at all, because I help people build their brand at work, for work, in their role, to help them with their role, to help them build their career, which is akin to job hunting, of course, but also to support the company. So when I talk about, but I can still apply knowledge in that sense, because people are not going to hire me to go help other people find jobs at their company, right? So the one thing that I can say, though, is we touched on it a little earlier, was proof. Show proof of what you know, right? And that can be done through content. That can be done through your activity. You want to showcase just your application of that knowledge, because that's what it's going to come down to, is that knowledge, that passion. People want to see that. People want to see that especially if they're considering you for a position, because even internally, when people are getting considered for positions, you can showcase skills such as hosting an audio room, or doing a live on LinkedIn, or writing an article, whatever the case may be. You can showcase what you know, but also transferable skills, especially now as employers are looking at the brands of their employees to extend the brand experience through them. So they will see you as an asset if you are well branded and knowledgeable in your space, so that it levels you up. And again, getting to know somebody and feeling like you know somebody by their activity and what they say about themselves on the profile, it just gives you that know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I used to talk about career stuff back in the day. I don't anymore. I focus on business owners and entrepreneurs, just like you were saying. That's my focus. But what I can tell you is that the rules apply to everything. So what I tell people is that if you're looking for a job, if you're trying to build your business, what are you doing to set yourself apart with your brand and thought leadership? So here's the thing: if I'm hiring people and 3 people send me their way, I see 3 LinkedIn profiles. One that's a LinkedIn profile that's crap, another one that's really, really good. Let's say it's really polished, it looks really nice. And then I have another one, let's say it's medium good, but then he has like 10 articles and 6 videos and 20 audio rooms talking about the expertise area that I care about. That's a big deal. That's a big deal to me, because to me, it demonstrates knowledge and expertise far more than the resume does. So what I would say to job seekers is, what are you doing to build your thought leadership brand? What are you doing to build your digital presence for your brand? I think that makes a huge, certainly make the resume and the profile look good, but like, what are you doing that extra that gets my attention? That to me makes a big difference.
And the other thing that I would just mention too is your LinkedIn effort doesn't stop when you get the job, right? Because most people, what they do is they update their LinkedIn profile to the most recent job, but featuring the experience they got to get the job. Right? As opposed to, let me know what you do now. Let me know how you help people now. That is much more important, especially once you're in your role, because those job seeking periods of our lives are very short. But yet people are validating each other every single day online. So let people know the value that you deliver today in the role that you're in. So the branding doesn't stop once you get the job.
Yeah, and again, there's 2 questions actually regarding storytelling. So String, they're asking, can you elaborate on the Amazon example of storytelling?
Well, I feel like I will kill it, but you probably should check out Holly Lee, because she's the one that taught me that format, and she's also quite active on LinkedIn as well. But she talks about how that you need to think about the STAR format, which is like the situation, the task, the action, and the result that you provide. And that's the formula she teaches for people who want to get a leadership role in that. So again, situation, task, action, and result. What is the situation or the status of the project? What task did you get? What action did you get? And what's the result did you get? And I recommend that you just check out Holly Lee and then write Amazon, even Google her, and you'll find out she shares that format with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And again, there's lots of questions here and there. I mean, there's another job seeker one. I want to make sure we're focused on the personal brand piece. But one thing is, I just want to mention some housekeeping here. This is brought to you by the Thought Leadership Brand Club. We are a membership community helping businesses and brands elevate their thought leadership brand through personal branding, digital presence and content, storytelling and speaking skills, mindset and confidence, and building meaningful relationships. If you want to be part of this membership community, we are launching now at the end of June our 100 founding members. You get access to 2 weekly calls, a mindset call, trainings from expert speakers from around the world. You also get all these resources, replays, transcripts of everything we're doing, and the accountability in our private LinkedIn group. So if you want to build your brand and want to learn more about it, you can come to one of our free Zoom calls. This week, actually, I'm doing a training on Thursday at 4 p.m. specifically on how to negotiate as a paid speaker. And then on Friday, we have a guest speaker, John Asperian, the LinkedIn guru, is going to talk about how to amplify your about section. So if you want to learn more about it, ping me, comment below. We can share with you all the links on how to get involved in that kind of stuff. But we are talking about personal branding, and I have Cher Jones and Nguyen, two of my favorite friends, but also personal branding experts. Just one quick question from Christy. Do you recommend, because I know Christy's is a career expert, so would you recommend job seekers to upload their resume directly to LinkedIn? I'm just going to quickly say, anything you can add to LinkedIn as an asset is a good thing, but I think that your LinkedIn profile is going to be the most important thing that has to be fleshed out and looks really, really good. Your headline, your banner, your about section, make sure they have the 29-second video, because that is the only place in your profile where people can see your personality and ergo fit for a job. But that's it. I'm going to keep going to something else now. I want to ask a question. You know, we all have different ways in which we figure out personal branding. I know that you guys have different models for this. I would love for you to share, because I have my own, right? So I was just curious about sharing models. I mean, I know like a string has the V. So can you talk a bit about what kind of models you use in personal branding to help your clients?
Do you want to go start first, or are you asking me first?
Well, it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah, would you like
ladies
to go
first? Whichever. Cher, why don't you go ahead first?
Okay, sure. So for me, when I'm working individually with clients, which is a little more rare than usual, but one of the things that I really focus on is I am looking for their key messaging. So I actually start first with asking them, about their goals, of course. Like it's a typical format, right? So I'm looking at their goals. What do they want to accomplish? And then how do they describe what it is they do? And then the other piece that I find really important to anchor their personal brand is understanding what their BX is like, or their PBX, personal brand experience. What do they want people to experience when that person comes on their brand, right? Whatever aspect of their brand that they're using as a part of their strategy. And so usually that experience is, how do they want them to feel? Right? Because that's the way we're going to craft the brand, is not only in their personalized language, but also understanding what it is you want people to feel. Do I need people to feel like that you are whether it's leadership, whether it's experienced or knowledgeable in a very like specific topic, whatever it is, or is it you're trying to get in the media and you want to be on more news shows? Like I've had clients who they want to be on CNN, or they are on CNN or on CW or wherever they are, and they have to show that so that they give the producer that feeling that, yes, this person would be perfect to bring on our show. So understanding that first before, and understanding the why behind it, what they want, and then get into the messaging piece. So first, you've got to design that brand experience by knowing what you want and what you want people to experience and how you want them to feel. Then understand the messaging. Well, what do people need to know about what you do now and why you're the person to do it? But most importantly, understanding the problem that you're solving for those people who are looking you up, right? And then it comes into, having the network that's going to help you solve those problems for those people, and also providing the proof. So that's how I would say my process and is how I go about it. And yeah, that's what I do.
What about yours, String? You want to talk about it? I love hearing yours as well.
Well, before I start, because I have this thing called the 7 V's of framework. Which is your vision, values, Vogue, which stands for Vogue, is a German word for people, but I call it folks. Visuals, validation, and victory. But I noticed that when my clients, which is like founders and leaders, they complete this, but I usually hang out with them and try to unlock their potential or remove their fears of being themselves online. And I find that more interesting. So I'm glad that Bobby has included mindset, because like the imposter syndrome, or the little voice inside of us, is a lot more like stronger than people think, especially when you're an expert for the last 10 years or more and putting yourself out there, you feel like you're a super noob again. And now I'm curious to like ask questions to both you, Cher, and Bobby. Like, what, how do you like defeat that little voice inside of you that says like, don't say anything, you go sound silly, like that little imposter syndrome? So, because like I feel like that's like actually a common challenge that I hear from a lot of my audience and clients.
Yeah, I can comment on this, which is, going back to the original question about my model, which was focused on discover your personal brand, then design your personal brand, then deploy your personal brand. And a lot of people, don't do that the right way. And I focus on values, personality traits, skills, interests, and experience stories of your life. And that's right. And I use your self-assessment, the assessment of others, and I use the assessment of online assessments. And from that, I thread together things. The mindset piece came when I started thinking about how do I take personal branding and elevate it to thought leadership branding? Because I know from my own personal journey, mindset is always an issue. And everyone I talk to, mindset is an issue. Like I get a client, Bobby, I want to work my personal brand, and I want to put like 4 content pieces together. And I spent 6 weeks with her. We spent 5 weeks just on her mindset because she was so terrified to post. She finally posted once on her 6th week. And so for me, the way I navigate the mindset piece, there's 2 things to do. One is personal branding, because when you do the deep dive of personal branding, which is validated by your network, and you've done the research, evidence-based, as you said, it helps validate that what I'm doing makes sense, it's on purpose, it's on target. So that helps with my confidence. The second piece is coaching and community support. That's why we have the TLB Club community. That's why we have people who are coaching us and people like you guys who are there to support one another. Because when I meet with my coach, and I have 2 of them, I'll start talking. And next thing you know, we'll spend 30 minutes just on the mindset piece of the imposter or what's going on with us. And I find those things, the personal branding piece, for clarity of purpose and knowing that's validated. And then for me, having a community that where I can say, in fact, just before this call, I was telling Cher, I was on a call earlier today about a speaking thing. What the funny thing is, I'm doing a training on Thursday on how to negotiate as a speaker. And the person said, here's the rate for the speaking gig. Any other questions? And I hemmed and hawed until finally said, any last questions? I was like, well, you know what? I don't like, and I just said, I don't like the rate. I think it should be higher. And I just silence. But what's funny is that I waited really long. And I in my head, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't ask. Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe I should, let me get the contract first, and then I'll maybe mention the contract because I was not happy with the number. But I did it. So, and I can't answer the question in terms of why I did it. I just knew that it was in my head. And I was like, I better just get this out. He asked me a second time, and I'm glad I did, because he agreed to my increased rate that I asked for, which is sweet. So, the truth is, we still struggle with it today. I still struggle with it today, and that's okay.
Oh, definitely is okay. I think we all are going to struggle. And I think what was great about that, Bobby, is you're just sharing the fact that we all struggle with this, right? We, even at whatever level is like new levels, new devils. Like we're always, when it comes to another level, we unlock this new achievement. Then we're still thinking like, oh my gosh, am I ready? Am I ready to be at this level where I'm charging this much? I remember when, I was charging that much. But the interesting thing with that is the fact that what I've asked my clients is, once we've done the exploring work, right? When we decide what it is they want, for me, relevant to what do they need to do in their job every day? How can their personal brand help them? Where do they want to be in their career? How can their personal brand help them? And also, how do they want to contribute to the company brand? And how will their personal brand help them? And that also helps for the other 2 pieces. So once you have an idea of that, well, what's the experience that you bring into play? And if I were to put you in front of your ideal teammate, your ideal client, your ideal opportunity, if I were just to hand it to you in your hands, could you do what you just told me you do? And that moment is that clarity moment of, yes, I could. And then the other thing to, because there's especially, I'm definitely, I'm millennial adjacent, so I'm very much a Gen Xer. And one of the things in our generation is the whole branding versus bragging, and not wanting to feel like they're bragging. But if you can shift the language and the mindset into a service-based mindset, in the sense of, this is what I've done, and that's why you should trust me. Right. So here's what I can do for you, and here's why you can trust me. So when you look at it like that, where you're leaning into your experience from a sense of, well, why can I trust you to do what you said you're going to do? Well, because I've worked here, I've done this, I've created this, I've grown that. So it changes the mindset. So it's like that, shifting the mindset into a service. Right. And then also, I find that when I talk to my clients and saying, when you're going to put out content, if you can put it out in the mindset of, you're teaching the person who wants to be you in 5 years, you're helping that person. Immediately, it takes off any sort of weight of imposter syndrome, because they're helping the person who wants to be them. And there's nobody who's more of an expert on you than you. Right. So those are my little Jedi mindset tricks that I use.
Great.
I love your mindset, Jedi mindsets.
Yeah.
Even I'm getting Jedi mindset right now. I think I just want to add on to all of the points that you mentioned. And especially when there's something about our voice when we hold conviction, and that comes with confidence. Mm-hmm. But when you do something for the first time, or posting for the first time, it's super scary, because it's like, starting on newbie, and no one likes feeling like a newbie. But I think what you need to think about when you start off, especially when you're publishing content or showing your face on video, is that you should be curious to see how people resonate with your messaging, and if they love your stories. And you should use it as a way to improve your communication skills. And communication skills in general is an art form that I need to improve on a daily basis. And when you're stressed out, they feel stressed out. So you need to almost like calm yourself and share your stories, because like the other person really, really needs to hear it. And you're selfish for holding it back.
I think that.
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I think that's really, really powerful. You have no idea who's listening to what you're talking about. I mean, it's like an iceberg. There's only 10% that actually sees your stuff and comments, and then 90% are just watching. I was at a wedding one time, a family wedding, and there was a gentleman who's part of my extended family, cousins and married some kids, and he's like, I've known him for years. I just never spoke to him ever, but I saw him grow up, and now he's like 25 years old. And he came up to me at the wedding. He's like, I just saw your post about how you talked about your binge eating and the vulnerability you share. And I can't believe that some of my family from our culture is talking about this. Mm. And I want you to know that I've been there too. I've struggled with that. And I can't believe Uncle Bobby is talking about this. And wow. And I was like, wow. And he's been watching my stuff for years, and I never knew. But I think it's so important for us to, whenever you get that type of stuff, it really validates what you're doing. And another thing I want to mention with the mindset piece is I have a inbox on my Gmail. So I have a different folder. I have a folder in my Gmail inbox. It's called motivators. Whenever I get a message that really lifts me up, inspires me, I go to that folder and I start reading emails of people that said stuff to me that like really makes me feel a lot better about what I'm doing. It is one of the best things I've ever done. It's such a cool. There are emails from 10, 15 years ago that are in here, and I could read them. And, oh my God, wow, that's amazing. So I find that's really helpful to me when it comes to my vulnerability and imposter syndrome.
And I think the piece there that we can look at it from one angle, in the sense of people are like, I would say, streets is watching, right? Everybody's looking. Like, you're going to see that all the time.
You have so many sayings, Cher. I love all your expressions. It's unbelievable.
It's like, I love it too.
But it's true. Like, streets is watching, right? And they're looking. They're also seeing. So one, we're seeing, okay, that conversation around, they're seeing you being vulnerable. They're seeing you put yourself out there. They're watching. They ain't typing, but they're watching, right? But that should also encourage, while we're talking about like being afraid, but that should also encourage those who have moved past or have allowed themselves to put the insecurity in the back seat. Still going to come along for the ride, but it's in the back seat, right? But it should remind us that they're watching that. So, they're watching the power moves that you're making as far as the things that you're putting out there to plant seeds for what you want. So being strategic for your what's next, being strategic for what I call hidden opportunities. Like there's a whole hidden opportunity market at work where why do some people get the opportunity to speak on stage on behalf of the company, or to show up in webinars, or to co-create content with that company, or to be on a like some sort of special table or special group of people that are evaluating something. There are people who get those opportunities because they are seen. So just like we see others grow, we see others do things, we have to be strategic with what we want people to see so we can get what's next, right? And be in the conversation. So that's something that I think that we can't ignore, the fact that if people are noticing that stuff, and we all have had those experiences where, oh, I heard you on Clubhouse way back then, or I saw your LinkedIn post, or I saw you on Instagram, I saw you wherever, right? And that really meant something to me. So if they're seeing that, what about the stuff that you're really being strategic about to get you to where you want to be?
Man, it's so great to talk to you guys, because it's always lovely to hear different thoughts, different perspectives. One of the things that I want to talk about too is this whole idea of personal content, personalized content. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, but when it comes to sharing that type of personal content, where do you draw the line? People always ask me, where do you draw the line in terms of your personal brand? I think that my general take is that whatever you post, take responsibility for what you post. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be a certain way, then if you're going to be really political, you got to deal with that. If you're going to be super personal and talk about, there's a person I know on LinkedIn who talks about suicide very, very often. It makes many people uncomfortable, but I think that as long as they take responsibility for it, that's fine. But what's your take on this in terms of what's too personal and how does it affect your personal brand and things like that?
Right. I like to jump in there. So I love the ownership piece, and I want to go add on top of it, is it relevant? Mm. Because do you want to be associated with that topic? And when it comes to messaging, people forget. It's not that people forget. You're competing for attention. So you need multiple touch points to hone in and plant those seeds and hone in on that messaging. So I think I became the go-to personal branding one because 80% of my content is about personal branding. And I think that's what it is people need about 10 touch points at least to do this, or to remember, but also you have to be consistent. So people won't need your skills now, but they will later on. Mm-hmm. And that's why being strategic, like Cher says, is really important, because they're not ready now, but they will be ready later when they need your skills and solutions. And to do that, you need to be consistent. I wouldn't get the Lenovo brand ambassador role if I became a different person 5 years ago and I was inconsistent. The bigger the brand or the bigger the whales, the more consistent you need to be. Mm-hmm. And that means the bigger the goals are, the more consistent you need to be.
Right.
No, I couldn't agree more. So credibility plus visibility multiplied by consistency equals opportunity, right? So you have to be credible first, right? That's anchored in, what you're talking about. You do what you say you do. You have proof, right? The visibility is a piece around your network, right? You have the network of people who are able to see it, right? And you're putting out content so that you can be seen, heard, and believed that that's what you do. But then that multiplication factor actually levels up how much opportunity you're going to get by the consistency, right? So you got to show up consistently so that you're remembered, because so many times people will be in their feelings because they're like, oh my gosh, you didn't think of me when you were giving out that opportunity. And it's not that they didn't think that you could do it, it's that they didn't remember that you did. And that's the problem, especially now, because another saying, the branded wheel gets the grease. Okay. Like, seriously, that is what is happening now. Someone who has less experience than you, but shows up more as providing enough proof that they can do what they say they do, and they're showing up consistently and has enough credibility, again, they're more likely to get it. So this becomes now the challenge for all of us, depending on where you're at and the level of competition that you're at on the level that you're playing with, to determine your consistency, and your frequency. But then going back to what you're saying, Bobby, around the vulnerability piece, like, how much do you need to show? I'm not very, I wouldn't say I'm not very vulnerable. I pick my lanes in which I choose to share my vulnerability. So one thing that I had, that I'm being a little bit more vulnerable now about, is just wrestling and figuring out how to navigate life with ADHD. And one of the reasons why I feel so vulnerable about that, because it's become the hot topic, but it's actually a real life topic that I'm dealing with when it comes to medication, doctors, all that kind of stuff. But it's been transformative, right? So that's something that I'm sharing because it helps me. But then also that whole concept around personal branding Easter eggs. You can choose the things that are that you want to share and be vulnerable about, whether it's your family, whether it's about my love for hip hop, or, my love for Marvel, and having those conversations where they kind of slip in. And that is my side of vulnerability. I am not too political, but I am not afraid to put my opinion out there in the right tone, in the right setting, if necessary, if I feel it's necessary. But I've already weighed the risks, right? And so those are the things, I think, going back down, I think, to String's point, it's just like, you've got to be aware of the risk. Everything, and you said it too, Bobby, there's a risk. You put it out there, you see how it works into your strategy, and does it work with your strategy, and is it worth it? Right? Is it worth it? So,
I mean, I think I'll say two things. One is that there's a difference between what's personal and what's private. So, for example, if I'm in a divorce and I want to diss my partner, that's bad, because I'm basically taking personal information and doing that to her. Now, there are rare exceptions where, let's say, someone's in an abusive relationship, they want to out that person. I think that's something that I'm fine with if that's going on. But generally speaking, though, I wouldn't diss that person. I would just say, I'm going through a divorce. I'm feeling like crap. Here's how I'm feeling, and that's it. So, private information. I don't share locations of where my kids are when I post about them. Like, I share stuff that they're doing, but I don't give them the address of their school or where the programs are and things like that. So it's important to know what's personal and what's private. And then the second thing I'll say is that when it comes to consistency, I'm all for that. I usually go by the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of my content and my consistency is on target, on brand, what I want to talk about. The other 20%, I allow for flexibility, for experimentation, for whatever you want to talk about, because you never know, what might click. I mean, if the first time I try to post, the first time I did a post about NFTs, actually, I remember NFTs really hot, and I did a Twitter space on it, and just exploded. There was thousands of people in this room. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I started really going hot and heavy with talking about NFTs with people in rooms, because I thought that was a great topic. So you never know what's going to hook people. So I think that's something I want to make sure that we mention in terms of.
I have a hot topic about hooks. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure we get this in there. Okay, so what do you guys think of? So I've been playing with writing a post, but again, it's a spicy topic. Like, once it gets out there, I've weighed do I really want to have this conversation or not? Because it's a spicy topic. So I see
emotional
a lot
energy is part of it. You have to like Liz Leba, who does political stuff. She has to manage her emotional energy, right? That's an important piece.
100%. So this is around the thirst trap, LinkedIn branding professionals, right? Typically, I hate to say it, it's women, right? That I see most time. Yeah.
Can I just show it visually?
Yes. Yes.
Can I show it visually? Yeah. There
Please.
We go. Yeah. Like.
It's all of that. So like the thirst trap. So it's like, it was funny because my boyfriend and I, we were talking about how there's this whole quote. It was in a court case about porn, and the judge was like, listen, I know it. I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it. So we know when we see people doing thirst traps, and you'll be like, this, oh my gosh, it is so lovely outside. So I thought I would get a picture, and it's like down the top. And it's
Personal
just
branding.
like, yes, it's personal branding. Or they'll give some benign tips around, stuff that you could like get off a blog post or whatever, right? So they're like literally 2 clicks deep, giving some information about, like LinkedIn stuff, but it's really like some hot picture where it's just like, yo, you went a little too far to the left, right? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm so tired of seeing it. And so I was just wondering what your thoughts are. Like, do you guys see it? Do you notice it? What do you think?
I call that candy content.
Yeah.
Because people love it.
They do. And it works.
The candy content. Because we're visual creatures. So, and that helps stop the scroll.
Yes.
But you want to be known for that.
Exactly.
And then it opens up like human psychology in dating. Guys and girls are looking for that green light to slide into your DMs. So is that the kind of conversations that you want to deal with as well? But so candy content is fine if you can handle the heat.
Yes.
Or the spice. But do you want that to be associated that with professionally? And that's okay if that's part of your brand. Right. But also, I remember like having to deal with this when I was younger. It's like I get a lot of comments about being pretty or visually, cute and things like that. And that got to me. But then like I realized like, people kind of pick up on those like signals as well. And now that I'm just like, yeah, I'm cute, and that's it. I accepted it, and it helps, right? Being visually appealing also helps people like maintain attention online. But what if you're candy and super smart with substance? Yeah. You got the double whammy.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to be educational or have substance now. You need to have a bit of like spice or candy to grab people's attention, because otherwise you'd be a vanilla bread. Or was it plain bread? Yeah.
Do you have to go? So there's so many different routes about that, right? So, again,
the first trap, but back to the first trap.
Yes.
I don't do it because I don't want to be associated with it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, going back to what you said, it works. Like, they're the same ones who can say, well, I have 10 million views. I have this, I have that. I know why you have. Right? Like, it's obvious. And I'm not saying that they don't even know what they're talking about, but it's like, it's what comes with that. And then do you lose the professionalism? Do you lose and I think you do personally, right? But then I know it's one of those things where it's subjective. And I love what Renee's saying. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The kind of content just make it worse for women who are on the platform here for professional goals.
Yeah. And then that's the thing where it's like, and this becomes the question of, okay, you can roll with that on Instagram. I'm actually, if you want to do that on Instagram, I'm fine. But then that's the whole conversation. And this is where I struggle with it, right? Because that's the whole, that's for Facebook, right? What it's like, no, it's not. So is it something that is like, if I'm willing to say, well, that's for Instagram or whatever, but not for LinkedIn, like at what point?
Yeah, make it polarizing. Cher, double down on the polarizing.
Cher, can I be 100% here?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
All right. So let me tell you this. So when I first started my speaking career many years ago, I was told to lose weight by many people because when you're I was much more overweight then. I was like 290 pounds. I'm 240 now. And the question was, you don't want to give people like looks are part of the appeal of a professional speaker. Yeah. And so I understood that. And so there's the one aspect of people who struggle with their looks. And, I struggle with my looks, think, okay, I have a face and a body built for radio, not for being on video content, right? So that's a mindset, that piece that I would have in my head for many years. Am I jealous of people who are very good looking in their content across all platforms? Yes, I am. That's a fact. Do I begrudge them what they're doing? I used to, but not anymore. Because here's the thing, like every single thing we have going for ourselves in our world is an asset. So my humor is an asset. My energy is an asset. My substance and the way I engage people is an asset. And so my articulation and elocution
Absolutely.
is an
It's an
asset.
asset.
So I will use those as best I can to get my face and get my information in front of people, and then try to encourage them to stick around with the substance and content of what I'm trying to do. And I think that like if I was a super, good looking dude, would I have, the tight t-shirt tank top post on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever? I probably would.
That's what I struggle
But
with.
but the difference is that I would take responsibility for it. Whether I choose to do it or not, I'm taking responsibility for it. And so what happens is some people get the backlash. Well, if you're willing to take the backlash, that's great. If you can deal with this stuff and not care about it, that's fine. I think about it because I definitely see it all the time. So that's just keeping it real.
So Alex Hormozy, multi-millionaire, sold off his business, and he only wears singlets and shorts and flip-flops, right? And he said because he's comfortable with it. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars finding the perfect outfit that suits him, and then he bought 100 of those tees or tank tops. So I guess that's a guy's first trap. A guy's first trap is actually showing the gym shot, right? That's the guy's first trap.
Yep.
But then there is a time and place and audience to consider when you show these type of content. It does bring the clicks, but does it bring in the sales that you want?
That part. And to some people, it does actually bring the sales and the clicks. But then again, with great traps come great response, right? Responses, because those are the same people who are also complaining about the inappropriate behavior and the inappropriate DMs on LinkedIn. Is like, well, you get what you get and don't get upset. So it's like, it comes with that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, again, to Bobby's point, it's like, I've had that discussion, and even with my boyfriend just a couple of days ago, where he's like, you know what, if I was really, really fit, I think I'd have at least a couple of those shots, but then I actually don't think I would on LinkedIn. It feels wrong to me. But then again, and that's where it comes down to this context, right? Context to the culture of the conversations that you're trying to create. And it just seems like it's the fit. So I guess if you're trying to create those type of conversations that include, the attraction language and all that kind of stuff that comes with that, then that's fine if that's part of your goal, right? But I don't know. I'm still struggling with that, and I'm still struggling on how to articulate my final thoughts. I'm not a fan of the thirst trap, because I know it when I see it. There's a difference between being attractive. I get it. I can thirst trap like the rest of them if I wanted to, but I just won't, because I feel like I lose a sense of respect. But then again, that is also my personal context. So again, it goes back down to that. That's not for this is for Facebook, or this is for Instagram.
See, at the same time, I have to give people the independence to do what they want to do, as long as they take responsibility for it. And so for me, it's hard for me to say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. I never say that. I mean, I say be appropriate, be the best, be a good person, and don't demean people. But if people want to post a certain way, as long if that's what they want to do, then and they're empowered to do that, to me, they can do that. It's just, but again, it's a great discussion. I encourage you to post this, and I think it's a really fascinating discussion. I'm happy to have a further conversation on this in an audio room or another live stream. We want to do this, because I think we can certainly talk about that. I do want to make sure that we're actually over the hour now, and you guys have been so great. I love this. A couple of things. One is we're doing a workshop on Wednesday on thought leadership and how to actually, the 8 essential thought leadership and how to actually 10x your business. For me, personal branding leads to thought leadership branding and elevating your brand. So that's the big thing that I focus on. And then, and we do this every month, and we do this every month. So there's actually going to be a monthly live stream. I want to make sure you get a chance to share your final thoughts, and maybe where people can find you on social.
Okay.
Did I freeze? What happened?
You froze for a
Yes, you
second,
did.
but we're good.
Oh, sorry. So, oh my God, I didn't know.
Say, final thought, final call to action. Like, I'll pass it on to Cher. What are your like call to action and final thoughts, and where can people connect?
Definitely. Thank you. So really, I am focused on your personal brand at work for work. And I have developed a series of workshops and training for the corporate level. And so if you feel that your company should be paying to help you develop your personal brand so that you can use it in your role, use it to grow your career at the company, and also add to that company's brand, you should definitely, let's have a conversation to see how we can have a conversation with somebody else who can get that training sponsored for you.
I have to say that was a great pitch. That's an
thank you.
example of a
Fantastic pitch, right?
Well, I have a term for it. It's the triple threat brand. If you have a brand that supports you in your role, helps you in your career, and supports the company brand, that is a triple threat. So that's what I help people do. And so, yeah, just connect with me over on LinkedIn. And I have some really actionable, transformative programs that work. So just message me and we'll go from there.
Hey, I'm String, and I want to thank Bobby and Cher for the really spicy conversation towards the end. I like a bit of spice with my fried chicken as well. So I'm writing a book about personal branding for leaders. And so if you're a content creator or just someone who wants to know how to be authentic with their personal brand, please follow me and my newsletter. I have 23,000 people following me on my LinkedIn newsletter. And I think that's, if you have to have one key tip or what hot trend is, newsletter is back in action again, I feel like.
Okay.
And also video is, if you want to stand out from writing, adding a bit of video would add 100% touch authenticity in this written content world that AI is coming out. So those are my 2 tips and takeaways for today.
Yeah, thank you so much for both being here. I mean, the Thought Leadership Branding Club is hosting these every month. So next month we'll do another one it's usually the second, or I think it's the second week, Wednesday normally of the month. We did Monday for a special day. And also, if you want to be part of the Thought Leadership Branding Club and learn about our Zoom calls, what we're doing, and see our guest speakers, by all means, I'd love to invite Cher and String to maybe come by for one of the events too and share some knowledge. That'd be great. But you can see all the list of expert speakers we have. We have John Asperian, we have Deanna Russo, we have Judy Fox, we have a lot of really amazing people coming into these rooms to share knowledge. So feel free to do that. You can also check out our company page on LinkedIn, which is hosting this live stream right now. And of course, people are asking, well, why can't I see the comments? Well, because it's being live streamed multiple places everywhere. It's on Twitter, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook. So that's probably why you're not seeing that. So my final thought for personal brand is that personal branding is a chance for you to fight for the life that you want and to live the life that's true to who you are. So if you are ready to fight for the life you want, the career you want, the business you want, the love of your life that you want, the health, body, fitness that you want, then you have to be willing to do the work and start fighting for your life. And if you are willing to fight for your life, ask for help. The 3 of us are going to be here to help you fight for that life. So that's my final take on personal branding.
Love that.
Thank you, String. Thank you, Cher. All the best, y'all. I love you guys so much. You're so great. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.